Hello, I want to talk about benzo withdrawal. Um, as of right now, I'm about, I would say, a month and a half of tapering out. I'm down to 0.25 milligrams of clozapam, which is the generic for Klonopin. Um, and for whatever reason, it seems that my system is settling, doing well on 0.25. Um, I still have like muscle aches, like different aches and pains, like I have arthritis, like my back hurts, like my knee will hurt, like my foot will hurt, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm definitely still having, which is apparently very common, a histamine reaction. I already had allergies and issues with histamine. I was advised by my allergist to follow a low histamine diet. I can't say that I have 100% followed it. I was eating vegan, and all of a sudden, I can't tolerate vegan anymore. So that has to do with oxalates, which is in vegetables. So I'm not sure if, there's so many cross reactions with like, for example, like if you have a grass allergy, like you're gonna have a cross allergen with potatoes, and I think it's melons. um no, it's potatoes, peppers, they're all nightshades. So anything like, there's a ton of cross allergens. You shouldn't be drinking any alcohol, as far as histamine is concerned, and having a reactions. Histamine can create like a panic attack and also create like a cortisol release. It can give you all kinds of symptoms. Like I have ear pain, I have my nose running, I have my eyes watering. Sometimes I'll eat something and literally like my jaw will like lock up, and I can't, like, I had to hold my mouth open like this, and I'll be like trying to miss. I went to my doctor and he's like, "Oh, go get a sports mouth guard. It's TMJ." I'm like, "It's not TMJ," because I tried to tell my allergist about it before, about how I'm reacting to all these different foods, and they told me to go onto a low histamine diet. And I know if anybody's wondering what some of your symptoms are as far as allergies go, you can guarantee that if you're on which benzodiazepines are mast cell stabilizer and also can work as an antihistamine, you might be suddenly having all kinds of symptoms of allergies that you never had before. You might be having issues with eating things that you never had issues with eating before, and have all these sudden symptoms that, from my understanding, and I'm no expert, that benzos can either create histamine intolerance through their use, which I didn't find that. I found that it helped me. Or like it messes up your gut, which has histamine receptors. Or after you come off of them, you have terrible histamine intolerance and mast cell issues. So I'm on the strongest antihistamine there is. It doesn't do much, which is like really weird because I can take it up to 3 times a day. It's supposedly the strongest antihistamine, and sometimes I have to take a Benadryl. I find that also, like, some of these medications, like if I don't eat, like I'll be so sick, and I haven't had the barfing and the heartburn and the indigestion lately, but I'm knocking on wood because I'm very lucky, and I fear that my next cut it'll come back. But I definitely just wanted to tell everyone about histamine intolerance and benzos, and what can happen. So if you're having all these weird symptoms, it's definitely probably histamine related. So there's histamine receptors in your brain, there's histamine receptors in your stomach. It could be either or. Sometimes antihistamines don't work. For me, I think mine is gut related. So I take activated charcoal, but I don't take it anywhere near my benzo dose because it'll pull out your medication. So, and sometimes it can pull out the nutrients of food too. So if my histamine gets crazy, I will take an activated charcoal to help straighten out my gut because it's like I'm gonna puke and like heartburn. And it's really bad. So as I said, I'm doing better. Like today, this is the first day that I've been really feeling good. Yesterday I didn't feel bad. Um, I also have a problem with the chills, which I noticed that I had that with histamine intolerance when I had really bad histamine issues. Like constantly having the chills, like especially after I'm eating. So I will give you like a list of foods. I mean, they're not, this isn't 100%, you know what I mean? But I can tell you this much. Most meats from Walmart are high in histamine. I don't know if it's how they're manufactured, if it's the quality of them. You know, the longer that a meat sits in the grocery store, it collects histamine, which makes things impossible. I realize that, you know. Um, I'll get meat and I'll like immediately freeze it. The meat's been hard for me because, like I said, I was a vegan, but I started reacting to all these vegetables. Um, like avoid things that are canned, like tuna fish. Like I've even had before, I didn't have reaction to like canned beans, and I'm having a reaction to like garbanzo beans and like all these beans. Anything that has like a lot of preservatives and collect histamine. Um, that's on the shelf, anything that sits for a long time will collect histamine. Um, Especially like for example canned tuna. Like canned tuna is a histamine nightmare. Um, Smoked meats like deli meats, like lunch meat, like sausage, bacon, things like that are all really high in histamine. Um, for example, I literally like I will go and I'll buy haddock because it was one of the only things that I could tolerate. And if I buy it from, I'm in the north. What is it? Pacific? No, the eastern coastal region, like northeast. That's where I'm at. I'm in Pennsylvania. So we have what's called Giant here. It's a grocery store, and if I buy it from Giant, like I can eat the haddock. If I buy it from Walmart, I will get really sick. You also want to avoid anything fermented. I know a lot of people, um, at least from the groups that I'm in on Facebook, will because your GABA receptors is what's messed up with benzo withdrawal. So certain things like valerian root, things like that, like there's certain supplements, and alcohol works in the same receptors. So I know some people are drinking, I mean, from what I understand, I'm no expert, that drinking makes the withdrawal process a lot longer and a lot worse in the end. But if you are drinking, whatever you do, don't drink wine or beer. Don't drink anything fermented. It will cause a terrible histamine reaction, for sure. So you want to avoid canned foods, you want to avoid sausage, you want to avoid sausage meats, deli meats, all that stuff. You want to avoid tuna, you know, you want to really find out if you have seasonal allergies like grass, pollen, mold, things like that. Like you don't want to be eating mushrooms, you don't want to be loading up on yeast. You know, you want to really watch your diet. So you want to find out, Google like cross allergens, so you have an idea what foods that are going to create. Like if you have a grass allergy, like there's a list of foods that you shouldn't eat that it creates a cross allergen, which can all create a histamine release. So I wanted to kind of address the histamine intolerance. I know there's a lot more foods. It's kind of like hit or miss. Oh, and one thing I do want to say is about eating out. As I was a massage therapist, but before that I was like basically a habitual restaurant worker. So I worked in a lot of restaurants. Restaurants will let their meat sit in the refrigerator for a long time, or let it sit out. Like say you're getting like shrimp fried rice or something, like literally like this shrimp is like sitting out, and if it's sitting out, it doesn't matter how much they cook it's going to have collected so much histamine. I get the worst reaction from shrimp fried rice, and I knew it working in restaurants. Why? I knew exactly why. Because they leave their meat and they'll pre-make things like lasagna and let it sit for like a week. Like they'll run like a lasagna special and they'll let it sit for a week. They'll make a huge batch of it and then pull it out. You want to avoid eating out as much as possible because restaurants do not have, like habitually have bad hygiene practices and have practices that will just give you a histamine overload. So, it's another thing, I mean, drinking out, eating out, it really affects your life. Like it affects so many aspects of your life. especially if you do develop histamine intolerance, because they can give you multiple chemical sensitivity. It can give you histamine intolerance. It can give you MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome. There's all these things that are connected with benzo withdrawal. So that's all I have for today. I do kind of want to address one more thing. There was someone who commented on my page about wait till you hit tolerance, was the comment. I thought that I was pretty clear that I thought that you would hit tolerance the more that you took. You know what I mean? When coming down from a benzo, I'm not sure. I had never hit tolerance on 2 milligrams of clozapam, and I'm trying to figure out how I would hit tolerance if I'm reducing my dose. So that doesn't make sense to me. But if anyone wants to explain in the comments, feel free. I'm working towards coming down to Valium now. I have a new doctor, which we will see what happens. Because I could very well be on here next week shaking and no makeup and in a complete mess because I have to go to a new doctor because I got dumped by mine. So, very nice of them. They even dumped me for therapy. So it was very nice. And this will happen because they try to put you into the category of a drug addict when you're really just going through withdrawal, when they try to rapid withdrawal you. But anyway, that's all I have. Have a good day.